when that person uses dedication and commitment to the highest good for all as his prime motivation.
You mentioned something that's rarely understood when the subject of the law of attraction is taught. And you say the moment that we choose anything, or make a wish, as I like to say, when we make that intention for something, the exact opposite of that intention will come into our lives as well. That's pretty amazing stuff. Why isn't this taught in Law of Attraction 101? And please explain why this opposite effect happens.
Well, it's really quite simple. The mechanism of attraction requires a contextual field within which it can be put into play. It's like a petri dish in which a scientist drops a specimen. But generally speaking, this is not always true, but it's true, I think, in 90% of the cases, maybe more. Scientists have to have some element in the dish itself. It's either water or some other liquid or something there to as a placeholder to allow the specimen that is being dropped into that petri dish to exist in time and space in some particular way. So there has to be some holding element, what I call a contextual field. Now, you cannot experience light if you experience nothing but light all of your life. If we lived in a world where darkness was simply unknown, and all there was constant light, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, forever and ever, and even forevermore, then no one would know what light is, because there's nothing else. There's nothing relative to it. So the only way, if a person yearned to experience the light, the only way he could do it would be to call forth the darkness and to say, I would like a contextual field within which I can experience this particular aspect of life. If you please, this particular aspect of divinity. Well, divinity itself has provided us a marvelous tool with which we can do that. It is, in fact, called the creation of the contextual field, or what I refer to in the book as the law of opposites. That is, the moment you experience that you wish to know yourself as anything, 6 feet tall, kind and compassionate, male, or whatever it might be, you will draw to yourself the exact opposite energy in some form, in order that you can have a contextual field within which to experience what it is you wish to express through the process of life itself. Now, when this is generally understood by people, they then see the appearance of the opposite of their desires as a sure and certain sign that they're on the path toward their next highest expression of those desires. But if you don't know this, you can get very discouraged and walk away from the whole process, throwing up your hands, saying, you know what, law of attraction doesn't work. And every time I wish for something, something bad happens. So I'm better off just not wishing for anything, just bumbling along, the hell with it, I'm out of here. And they abandon the process and abandon the whole understanding, to say nothing of the expression of the law of personal creation, or what some have called the law of attraction. They therefore wind up leading lives of quiet desperation, wondering what life is really all about, and why some people have it so good and are so lucky, while others do not and are not.
So to put this in, let's say, a financial context, somebody is intending that they want to create a more prosperity in their lives. Let's say they want to intend to make $1,000 a week. How does the opposite show up? More bills, more debt, losing jobs?
There's no specific answer to that. I can't even see that.
Okay.
You're asking me to tell you how many angels fit in the head of a pin. I don't have the answer to that question either. So okay. I don't know. There's an infinite number of ways that it shows up.
All right. So the main thing is to be aware that whatever you intend, there's going to be things that show up that are the opposite, and you should just be aware of that and say, hey, thanks, I can see that my intention is coming closer.
Yes,
because that's a sure sign.
Yes, and gratitude is a powerful, powerful device in that regard. Powerful device. It overcomes any negativity. You know, even if I'm wrong about the law of attraction, I mean the law of opposites, by the way, even if everything I've just said is just, you know, some philosophical meandering that has no basis in fact, you can still do a lot worse than moving to a place of gratitude for it, because gratitude shifts your ground of being and puts you in a very good space to change what's going on in your exterior world and produce the outcome or move closer to it that you really desire.
Right.
What you resist, what you look at clearly, disappears. That is, it ceases to have its illusory form.
Right. Which kind of brings us up to this next thing here, about the triad process of personal creation. And in your book, you state, first of all, number one, nothing in this world is real. Number two, the meaning of everything is the meaning that I give it. And three, I am who I say I am, and my experience is what I say it is. Would you mind going into this in a little more detail?
Gee, I would have thought those statements were pretty doggone self-explanatory. But I will I will say some things if you want me to fill some time on the interview.
Okay.
Nothing I see is real means exactly that. We're living in a hologram. We're living in a holographic universe. By the way, there's a wonderful book called The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot, which explains all this wonderfully. And what you're seeing is actually not what's really there, but really a formulation, an interpretation of what is really there based on prior experience of your own life. That's why a person can walk down the street, see a lady across the street weeping, and think, oh gosh, she's so sad, something's developed, I need to go and see if I could help her in some way. While a second person can walk by exactly 30 seconds later and say, wow, she's so happy, she must have just gotten proposed to or something. Look, she's crying with tears. She's crying tears of joy, I mean. It's so hot, you know, two different people are observing the exact same thing. It's called the Rashomon effect. It's when two people see the same thing. And it's just an example, it's just a simplistic example of a much larger truth. And what we're looking at is not what's really there, it's our interpretation of it. So nothing I see is real means that the only person who can make it real or give it any meaning whatsoever is me. And so nothing has any meaning save the meaning I give it. It means exactly what it says as well. It means that all the exterior circumstances, situations, conditions, events of my life have the meaning that I have given them. And where I pull that meaning from is another question. Do I pull it from someone else's idea, from my father's thought about it, from my parents, from my church, from my religion, from my politics, or from my in-the-moment experience? You know, what causes me to slap a meaning on something that I have labeled it as? Those are good questions, and those are the kinds of questions we work with as we move with people through these processes in the spiritual renewal retreats that I offer around the world. But the statement stands as powerfully as it's written. Nothing has any meaning, save the meaning I give it. And the third statement is even more self-explanatory. It hardly needs description. I am what I say I am, and my experience is what I say it is. It means exactly that. So I've had things happen to me that other people would say, you know, wow, aren't you upset? I said, no. Well, that would upset the hell out of me. I said, well, okay, fair enough, then it would. It's not upsetting me. You know, or doesn't this make you happy? Not particularly. Well, I was really happy to see this. Well, I'm not. Yeah, as an example, I read an article in the New York Times the other day about what the NFL, the National Football League, is discovering at their stadiums. The game at home has an entirely different feeling than the game as it's being experienced in the stadium. What the NFL is finding out is that in the stadiums full of people around the country, there's a lot of negativity and a lot of anger and a lot of, you know, acting out and a lot of guys shouting obscenities and making it hard on even fans of the opposing team who may be sitting nearby and calling them rude names and just making a generally unpleasant and negative experience. They're saying that this is being caused by the amount of drinking that's being done in the stadiums that changes people's perspectives and in a sense, not to be simplistic, but brings out the worst in some people, especially those hard-nosed football fans who can't stand the idea of a person next to them rooting for the other side instead of being a good sport about it and saying, hey, I'll tell you what, I'll buy you a Coke if your team wins, and you buy me one if my team wins. So they're having a good time with it.
Mm-hmm.
They're having less fun in the stadium than they are on the field. Guys on the field understand they're getting paid millions of dollars to play a game, for heaven's sake. And while they may be passionate
Mm-hmm.
about winning, when the game is over, they're shaking hands in the clubhouse and saying, hey, good game, guys. See you next year.
Right.
So what I'm saying to you is that whereas at home people experience it in an entirely different way. I am who I say I am, and my experience is what I say it is means exactly that. We get to decide, and we get to announce if we choose to, who we are and what our experience of anything and everything is. Most people don't see their lives in that context, however. Most people live their lives as if it was something happening to them rather than something happening through them. And at that point, they've lost total control.
Mm-hmm. The victim consciousness.
Yeah. And when you see yourself as being at the effect of life rather than at cause in the matter, everything changes in the way you move through that life. I learned that from Werner Erhard, who years ago created a program called the EST training. And in this training, Werner and his various facilitators, I never met Werner Erhard personally, but I did take his training many years ago, 20 years ago now, perhaps 25 years ago. And the training changed my life because Werner Erhard was the one who put that thought in my mind. You can live your life at the effect of your experience or be at cause in the matter. And you will decide which one is more effective for you.
Let's shift gears a little bit. What is the purpose of relationships?
To announce and express, become and fulfill who we really are. To know ourselves, it has to do with the contextual field that I spoke of not long ago. The relationship is nothing more than a contextual field. It creates an environment within which we can express and experience who we are and who we next choose to be. So the purpose of relationship is not to receive anything, but to give everything that we imagine ourselves to be. All the patience, all the kindness, all the love, all the caring, all the sexuality, all the humor, all the creativity, all the anything that announces to the universe who we are. It's a glorious contextual field within which we can continue to rediscover ourselves in a manner of speaking, although strictly speaking, rediscovery is not possible. But as the word is used in the vernacular, to rediscover ourselves, to recreate ourselves anew, and to become a larger version in the next moment than we were in the last of who we understand ourselves to be. It's difficult to do that sitting in a room by yourself. Very difficult. Not impossible. Not impossible, mind you. Some aesthetics have done it, but it is extremely difficult. The path of the householder, so to speak, is far easier path to tread because you've created a contextual field that challenges you in every moment of your life. Whereas a person sitting there in front of a candle oming in a cave someplace or at a monastery somewhere has very little to challenge him in life.
I've got some questions from listeners, and the first one is from Jonathan. He's 29, and his question was, he wondered if you were 29 again, and you knew what you know now, how would your life be different when you're 29?
Well, I would never have lied again. I would never have told even the slightest shading of an untruth, even the smallest little white lie, in order to somehow manipulate the outcome of some situation or circumstance, or to produce an outcome in which it looked as if I was getting what I wanted. That's the first thing that would change. I would never try to manipulate using anything but absolute and total truth. Second thing that would have changed is I never would have made any decision out of fear of any outcome or fear of any result, but continue to stand in my truth and in the gentleness of it. I would speak my truth but soothe my words with peace, as a great personal teacher of mine once said to me, named Futsu Trian. Futsu is a Chinese word meaning master, and Master Trian or Futsu Trian taught me that. Speak your truth, but soothe your words with peace.